All right, everyone, welcome to the Real Estate Game Changer Show. I'm your host, Mike McKay, based in the Jacksonville, Florida market. And each and every week, we do this show with people who are changing the game of real estate all over the country. And this is a live show, guys. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat or the comments for our guests to answer. For anyone who is in the Jacksonville market or thinking about getting into it, feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to point you in the right direction. And we are still a very active buyer in the Jacksonville market, so feel free to send any deals our way as well. This week on the show, we have Shadi to Mimi out of Orlando, Florida. Shadi, welcome to.
Having me on here.
For sure, man.
So
So go ahead.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So for people who don't know you, could you just give everyone a little bit of background of how you got into the real estate business and kind of how that's led you to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. So we actually started in end of 2018. So I first learned about wholesaling November 2018. Beforehand, when I first turned 18, I got my real estate license. So I just told myself, I'm going to be a realtor. I'm going to sell houses. I'm going to. That was the. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with real estate. I just knew I wanted to get into it. So I was in college at the time, studying for civil engineering. Never planned on even using it, and just getting a degree. And November 2018, learned about wholesaling through YouTube. So I'm one of those people, and I was just intrigued. I wanted to get into flipping, didn't have the capital for it, so I knew that wholesaling would be a good stepping stone for that. So at the time, I thought wholesaling would just be something I start with,
Mm,
and once I get some capital, I'll get into flipping, and that'll be my main channel. So my November 2018, didn't really have a good budget. Just started an internship in civil engineering, so I was just like, great, I'm going to use all the money towards marketing. So budget was like 500-600 bucks a month in wholesaling. I mean, and what does that budget get you?
yeah.
Um, Aside from that, I was really targeting mailers. So direct mail was the main thing that we were doing. At the time, I didn't think that paying 45 cents a postcard was something I could do. So after school and after the internship, every day I would just come home and print out the mailers, personalized with their name and address. I copy paste from the Excel sheet, put it into the letter and just print it out. Letters, we'd have them handwritten.
Mm,
So, 100 mailers a week or so, send them over to the post office and see if we get anything. So, it took us 7 months to get our first deal.
wow.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it was really just it was really working hard instead of working smart. It's didn't really
Mm,
have that much funds and trying to make it work with whatever he had. So it was definitely an interesting journey. For those 7 months, it was just wake up at around 7 or 8, go to the internship. I was part time, so I would work from around 8 to 12, and then after that, I'd go to UCF college I was going to,
mhm.
and it's go through my classes. During class, of course, all I'm doing is just getting the lists ready or doing whatever I have to do to get work done, and then get home, eat dinner, and then from that time until 3 to 4 a.m., it was just printing those mailers every single day.
Mm.
So I didn't really know what sleep was. I didn't know even what water was. It was just energy drinks. So it was a bad phase. Um, Aside from that, I mean, when I sleep, it was this bad. When I would go to sleep, I'd have the light on and no blanket, just so that way the next day I'd make sure I wake up like 3 hours later. I didn't want to get too comfortable. I didn't want to get into deep sleep. So, so everyone those days, everyone knew me that I just don't sleep. It was my reputation. So definitely came a long way from then.
Yeah. So where did you get your first deal? And how did you start working
Yeah,
smarter as opposed to just harder, like you said before?
definitely. So first deal came in May 2019, and it was $5,000. So that was the best $5,000 I ever made.
Hmm.
Um, After that, we just started really reinvesting the money. I just reinvested every single penny. We started sending out a little bit more mailers. I hired one cold caller for that year. And so I think we closed about 5 or 6 deals that year total. So we grossed about 91,000 first year.
Mm-hmm.
And to think of it, our first deal really came in May. So we got 91,000 in those 7 months, which was a great start.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with one cold caller and me as acquisitions and dispositions and everything else. And then just every single month after that, just reinvesting. That was the biggest thing. I didn't really take profits, just reinvested every single penny into it.
Gotcha. And I guess at what point did you decide to build a team?
Yeah, good question. So COVID came 2020. No one wanted to sell. And every deal that we had under contract basically fell apart. Buyers didn't want to pay, even if the deal made sense, just because we didn't know what was happening to the market, as you know. And sellers didn't want to sell. So I kind of took that, not, I don't want to say I took that year as a break, but the first couple months in March, well, to sidetrack, February 2020, the month before COVID, I got married. So the whole motivation behind, getting into wholesaling was really, let me get some funds to get married.
Mm-hmm.
So, so February 2020, we get married. March, COVID comes. There's
Mm-hmm.
no more business there. It's all gone. And so first couple months, we didn't really do much. Deal here and there off of PPC, just a really small budget in PPC.
Mm-hmm.
And 2021 was when I really hired. May of 2021 is when I hired my first lead manager, which was going to grow into my acquisition manager.
Okay.
So by May of 2021, we had two acquisition managers. I was really I was training acquisitions, but also dispositions. So I was doing
Mm-hmm.
dispositions at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. That's just that team, and then three cold callers,
Okay.
and one. Oh, I was still doing SMS at the time, so that was
Mm-hmm.
before I even hired an SMS VA. And then after that, we just started growing. And after that first acquisition, it really just opened that door to hiring.
Mm-hmm.
And 2021, end of 2021, we probably had three lead managers in the end of that year, and I think it was two or three acquisitions at
Mm.
the end of that year. And I was still doing dispo. So it took me a long time to really hire for dispo.
Did that first acquisitions hire actually work out for you?
Until she's still with me. She's actually
Wow.
one of the best on my team. Yeah.
That's kind of a rare
So
that's
it
kind of a rare
was,
story. Tell us how you
yeah.
did it.
No, it was definitely beginner's luck. I think.
Okay.
I think what it was when I really looked at it. I mean, she was a really hungry individual. She is a really hungry individual.
Mm,
But aside from that, I think it's because I didn't have anyone else to train on the team, and
mm,
she had all my time and all my energy. I
mm,
think that's what really helped her grow, pretty quickly. Everyone else at the time, like it was kind of training in groups and just figuring out what's the best way to train.
mm.
But that first acquisition was definitely until now the best acquisition hire I have.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, right? So what is your process evolved to now to train your acquisitions reps? So it sounds like you've made a lot of improvements on that since the beginning.
Definitely, we went through a lot of turnover in 2022, so training, firing, and all this stuff. So it wasn't fun. We had to find an easier way to do it, right? So
Mhm.
right now we have kind of set up a course. I have some of the course set up in Teachable, but then we kind of transitioned over Google Drive. So everything is in there. What recordings on how to use the CRM, how to fill in your KPIs if they had to fill
Mm,
them in, dialer, how to use that, how to comp, all these different things, all broken down into videos. There's PDFs on how to update everything. I like flowcharts a lot.
mm,
So anytime I wanted to see, I want the team to see something, I just visualize it in a flowchart for them. And after that, we have them go through when there's new hires, we have them go through a quiz that I just made on Google Quiz or Google Forms.
mhm,
And it's about 50 questions, just really asking questions based off the videos that they watched that we sent them about sales, about the CRM, about just mindset as well, like in sales, because that's one of the biggest things.
mhm,
Are you coachable? Let me find a good way to figure out if you are before we, you know, invest more time into training you. Um, Are you going to have a mindset to know not to judge a seller, which is one of the biggest things that I see as an issue sometimes. You see a seller's asking X amount and you just assume they're not going to take your offer.
Hmm.
So we make them go through those questions. If they get less than 80% on the quiz, then they're out. We just don't,
So that's post hire or pre hire.
that's basically I mean, we interview them, we hire them, we let them know there's a 1 week of training. By
Hmm.
the end of that week of training, they have to go through that quiz. If they
Mm.
pass, that's when they start calling. If they don't pass, sorry, we're just not a good fit for one another. Wish you all the best.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
So before that point, how are you deciding who to hire and who not to hire?
good question. So it's tough, but we post a lot of job ads off of Indeed and such.
Hmm.
My whole team is virtual, so everyone works from home. Most of them are from Egypt. So my acquisitions and my follow up managers are all from Egypt. So I
Really?
actually was
Okay.
out there in yeah, I was
Your
actually out there in
acquisitions reps are from
July.
Egypt. Okay.
Yeah, they're all out there. I went out there in July actually just take them out to dinner and meet them for the first time.
Wow.
But it was pretty interesting. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But hiring them, I mean, we use Indeed, put a
Hmm.
bunch of job ads. We put them out in Colombia, Egypt. We're testing out Philippines again just to see. Their English is strong, but we haven't really hired anyone from there yet at the
Hmm.
moment, but trying to see how that goes. Right now, Egypt is our bread and butter. Have all the requirements for the job, and then after they put their resume in, you're going to get a bunch of people that apply. I mean, we get sometimes people that just having their experience that they're a chef that apply and such.
Yeah.
Um, so what we do is we have them actually send us a recording, and I have a couple of questions that I ask them. What are your goals?
Mm.
What kind of sales experience do you have? And sending me a voice recording or a video recording in English. So, what are your goals? What kind of sales experience have you had? They don't have to have real estate experience. It's actually I've seen it better if they don't have a real estate experience, just because I could train them the way I want them.
Hmm.
Uh, what kind of weaknesses do you think you have in sales? And I want them to be honest about it. It doesn't disqualify them. And where do you see yourself in our company?
Mm.
So we ask those couple questions. Beforehand in our job ad, it explains what our company does, our business model and such, and all the qualifications and all the um, things that they're going to be doing for us. So
Hmm.
once they send that recording, I just kind of see what kind of person I'm talking to. I look at tonality. That's a big thing.
Hmm.
So I've had some people, they answer everything 100%. It's amazing recording based off of the answers, but the tonality is not there.
Mm.
If you're falling asleep while you're talking to me on the phone, I don't want to sell to you. So it just doesn't work out. It's not a good first impression either.
Hmm.
So we don't we don't go with that. Tonality is the biggest thing. Like I said, accent. So we want someone that's pretty clear when they're speaking English, of course. And I want someone that wants to grow with the company.
Mm.
So that's like one of the biggest things that I've seen our team love about working with us is I always tell them after they're hired, you guys are not going to be someone that's just on the team and that's it. I want to consider everyone as part of the Offer Charm family, right?
Hmm.
So we go over our core values. Um, I want to make it look like a community. I want everyone to work together. We don't have the acquisition against acquisition. I mean, we have a leaderboard, who's doing best and such, in that way of competition, in a way you could say, but everyone works together. Someone can't get a hold of a lead. I know a lot of acquisitions don't really do this from other companies, but let's say one acquisition on our team can't get a hold of a lead. They have
Hmm.
no problem contacting the other acquisition saying, "Hey, can you help me get a hold of this guy?"
Yeah.
So,
How did you
so
build that culture where that's okay? Because I know a lot of companies, it's like
yeah,
everyone's a lone wolf, and then they
yeah,
run into issues
exactly.
where people don't. It would benefit everyone to help each other, but they don't want to. Like, how did you build
Right.
that culture?
Because everyone's kind of looking at the commission. It just really came down to really caring about them. That's what I
Mm.
saw. It's not just about, okay, cool, clock in, clock out. If I'm on the phone in a meeting, for example, and I see someone on our team just not tone wise, they're not the same, I'll have them stay after the Monday meeting because every Monday we have a meeting with the team, kind of
Mm.
look at their numbers for the past week. look at the performance that everyone did the past week, any updates in the market. So, the past year, there's been a lot of changes with interest rates and such. So we discuss that anytime there's like a big change. So that way they're aware of what to say if the seller mentions anything.
Hmm.
But it really just comes down to everyone showing that they care. In the beginning of our Monday meeting, the first like 5 to 10 minutes, everyone just talks about their weekend. We all have a laugh. Um, I mean, I know some people like to just be straight to business, keep it very strict, but we kind of just took a different model and it's worked out for us.
Yeah. So let's say you get someone, right? They do the recording. You kind of like what you see, tonality, and all those other things you mentioned. What's the
Mm.
next step before you hire them?
After Tonali, I mean, at that point, they would just have to go through the training course that I sent them and that quiz.
Okay. And so there's
So
no
that
live, no
interview is the
live, no
first
live.
thing. Yeah.
There's no live interview. It's just a
Oh
recorded
no, the
interview.
live
Oh, okay.
the live interview. Okay, gotcha. No, so after that video that they send us, we
Mhm.
do hop on an interview if they go through it.
Okay.
And in that interview, that's when I ask them more questions. We jump more in depth about their goals and about everything. I introduce myself personally, introduce the company more in depth, just a little bit more details than what we have online.
Hmm.
Sometimes I like to just see how they react. I like to see if they knew something about the company before I mentioned it.
Hmm.
So last interview that we had actually a couple of days ago for a new lead manager, she just said, "Oh yeah, that's awesome. I actually saw on the website that you guys do this, this, and that, or I saw in the reviews that you guys have on Google that someone said this about you." So it shows that she's already investing and looking into the company she's going to join. She's not just joining any company.
Hmm.
So I appreciated that, for example.
Anything else that you're looking for in that interview outside of those things?
To be honest, I mean, the top three things I really look at is tonality.
Yep.
Are they coachable? And I ask them straight up, and I just tell them exactly what we're expecting, set the expectations from the start,
Hmm.
and just them being hardworking. I mean, it's not an easy job. You're on the phones for 8 hours a day, calling sellers. Acquisitions, you're not really getting cursed out or anything, but you're getting rejected a bunch of times, as you know. So I really just let them know what to expect from the calls,
Hmm.
and we just take it from there.
Yeah. And did
Yeah.
you say before that your lead managers and your acquisition reps are overseas? Is it both?
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting because I know a lot of people that I know have been able to succeed, including us with overseas lead managers, but a lot of people seem to get stuck with acquisitions.
Right.
They can't crack the code, right? I'm not saying it's clearly
Yeah.
possible, right? But they haven't been able to crack the code. So I guess like how do you guys feel that what you've done has allowed you to crack that code where a lot of other people have failed?
So I kind of look at the lead manager as like a trial period,
Hmm.
just to see how it's the junior varsity and you're going to varsity. I just kind of see how they're doing. So
Hmm.
I let them know this is not a job. I mean, anytime we hire someone for lead manager, I tell them straight up, this is not a job that you're going to stay in. If you do great and if you meet expectations and hit your goals, there's an opportunity for growth. And the the sky's the limit at that point with the amount of bonuses because they get paid salary and bonus.
Hmm.
Lead managers get a small bonus for every contract signed, but the acquisitions get a pretty decent bonus when it comes to a contract that's closed. So I kind of just look at our lead managers after about a month or two. I'll see how their attitude is towards everyone else, for example, because
Hmm.
we've laid off people um, just because of their attitude. Their lead managers, for example, they were great, and I saw the potential in them as an acquisition, promoted them as acquisition, and then they had that mentality of these are my leads, no one touched them. Um, I'm going to take the new lead because I responded to the text first, which I'm not. It's not a bad thing. It's just not the way our model is working. It
Hmm.
started affecting their other acquisitions performance, so we just couldn't afford that. Um, but in the lead manager role, I focus on tonality. I see the consistency.
Hmm.
So that's really a big thing. I mean, you're following the script right now. Your tonality is amazing right now. Is it going to be amazing in a month from now?
Hmm.
So we kind of, what I do is we have a couple meetings every week. So we have Monday meetings. Those are at 12 p.m. every single Monday, no matter what. We look at the KPIs, like I said, for the people, acquisitions and lead managers are on that team. and we'll just, like I said, talk about the market and such,
What
or
are
any
the
major
K
changes.
what are the KPIs that you're holding lead managers and acquisitions accountable to?
Yeah. So lead managers, we're looking at calls to revived ratio and talk time.
Like,
So talk time for the
okay.
lead managers are a little bit less than acquisitions, just because their conversations are about 5 to 10 minutes long usually. But we want to see them have at least about 10 to 15 revived leads a week per lead manager.
What's a revived lead in your business?
It just means it was converted over to an acquisition. So it's someone that's
Okay.
either considered either someone that's asking below ARV or around ARV, so they're not asking like 100K over.
Hmm.
They have an asking price, of course, so we always get an asking price before we convert it over to an acquisition. And are they willing to sign or move forward with a purchase agreement today if we agree on the price? So those are the top things that we look at. After that,
So,
it's sent over to an acquisition.
so if someone gives a price that's within the range, and they say they would actually sell if they basically got an offer they liked today, then that's considered like a move over to acquisitions for you guys.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
So, and then after that, the acquisition really goes through their conversation. I mean, their conversations are usually 30 to 45 minutes with a lead. So from start to finish.
So lead managers need to, revive what you said 15 leads a
10
week?
to 15 leads a week.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's about 2 to 3 leads a day, basically.
Okay. And
Yeah.
are they setting an appointment or are they just pushing
They
over?
are. They are. They're
Okay.
setting a call back. So, for example, let's say they're talking to a lead right now.
Uh-huh.
We have our acquisitions just let us know what times they're going to be working today, because I also have it as an open schedule.
Hmm.
We have it open from 9 a.m. to about 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Hmm.
They don't work that whole time. They can just choose. They can take their breaks in between that. Basically, they
Hmm.
just need to get in their 8 hours. So we just see when they just coordinate when they're calling, schedule a call back in the CRM, set that appointment for the acquisition, and they could see their calendar so that way they don't actually double book any leads.
Hmm.
And the acquisition just knows right there. They get a notification to call that lead.
Got it. So lead managers aren't really diving into reasons for selling or anything like that. You kind of leave that up to your acquisitions reps or
They do, they do. They talk about condition, they talk about reason, but they're not diving as deep. I mean, they're usually
Hmm.
on the phones with the lead for about 5 minutes,
Okay.
5 to 7 minutes average. So condition of the property, we just really go down a couple questions. Have you done any remodels? Have you remodeled the kitchen or bathrooms the last 3 years? Yes or no? Have you done the roof recently? When was the last time the roof was done? When was the last time the electrical was done and plumbing was done, for example? AC. We just ask those couple questions.
Hmm.
And then about motivation, let's say they have tenants in the house. Okay, great. How much are the tenants paying?
Hmm.
They have a mortgage. They try to ask what the mortgage amount is. If there are tenants in there, it's okay, all right, great. Are they paying on time? Is everything going well with the tenants?
Hmm.
But they don't really build as much rapport as an acquisition is going to be.
Sure.
So when it gets converted over to an acquisition, those calls on average about 35 minutes when we're listening to the recordings. Uh, they can be up to an hour. I mean, we're talking about
Yeah.
they get on the call with them, they set the expectation. We tell them, we don't even tell them we're going to make them an offer today. We tell them, I'm here to see if your property qualifies for an offer from us today. If not, I'm going to give you a reason why we rejected it.
Hmm.
Then they give them the seller their contact information, just so that build that credibility. Company's information as well. And then after that, that's when they really dig deep into the condition of the property. How do you like the neighborhood? Um, when's the last time? When was the electrical panel replaced? Do you have septic or sewer? If we don't know that already, do you know if there's copper wiring, aluminum wiring in the panel? Like we go really in depth,
Hmm.
and even though when we make the rehab estimates, we don't need to know all that information when we're making an offer, but it helps us differentiate from everyone else
Hmm.
because no one else is asking that. What's everyone else asking? Okay, great. Have you remodeled the inside of the house? Oh, do you have tile or carpet in the rooms? And that's really it.
Yeah.
Well, we're going in there. We're talking about the exterior of the house first, and then we tell the seller, okay, can you walk me into the house as if I walked into the front door? Tell me exactly what I'm going to see. And then they go into depth. It's just they're looking at every single small thing.
Mm,
And then any opportunity they have to build rapport, they take it.
gotcha. So your lead managers, they got to revive those 10 to 15 leads. And then what other KPIs? You said something about talk time. Is there a certain amount of talk
Yeah.
time they have to have
So
or?
talk time, I mean, it really just comes down to the amount of revived leads. I kind of just
Mhm.
make sure that they're, let's say they have 10 revived leads. I don't want to see a minimum. I want to see a minimum of about 50 minutes of talk time.
Mhm.
So an average of like 5 minutes or so. Well, it should be a little bit higher, but I want to see basically an average of when they're talking to these leads, that they're talking to them at least for 5 minutes. I don't want them to try to convert a lead when they've only
Mhm.
talked to them for 2 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Um, Now, for acquisition managers, those numbers are a little bit more tight. We're looking at calls. We want to keep it under 100 dials to get it, for the day. Offers, non-negotiable, 3 offers a day.
Mhm.
So they're usually around 3 to 5 offers a day. If they're anything below that, then we know something is wrong, something we
Mhm.
need to work on. And then, of course, our average right now for offers to contract ratio is about 10.5.
Oh, 10.5% or 10.5 offers to
No, so
contract.
10.5. So one contract per 10 offers.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. And
Yeah.
then so they go through, I guess, that training, and then everyone's kind of lead management is kind of the way that you vet them almost again, right?
Mm.
I guess like I kind of familiar with how people structure compensation in like US for acquisitions, but like how do you structure that for people overseas?
So overseas, we just pay a little bit more than the lead manager, salary wise.
Hmm.
So it's about, I'd say about a 20 or 30% raise over what a lead manager would make
Okay.
salary wise. But the bonus, they're making about per contract closed, they're making about 70% of their salary in one bonus.
Okay.
So like, yeah. So for example, let's say they're making $700 a month, eight hundred
Yep.
dollars a month, which in their currency would of course be enough to be in that,
Yeah.
in that country, live and pay for all their bills. Their bonus is probably going to be about $400 to $500 per
Per
contract.
per
Yeah,
closed contract or
per closed contract, exactly.
yeah.
So we have some in Egypt that they got paid like $3,000 to $4,000 in bonuses just in 1 month. Yeah,
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money in Egypt. Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a
That's
lot.
great
So
though.
it,
That's great. Yeah.
yeah, no, they're doing great. They're doing great, and some of them, some of them are single and just live with their families, and some of them they have kids and they're able to provide for their families. So they're living really good. When I went out to Egypt, I got to meet them as well, and I got to see they're living in good areas,
Hmm.
newer areas, cleaner areas. So it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. And then where are all these leads coming from for these reps?
Cold calling and SMS, those are our top two. So 2020 SMS was our number one marketing,
Okay.
and
Sure.
we were making about a 25x ROI on SMS in 2020. I don't know if
Yeah.
it had something to do with COVID or what, but that was the numbers. Ever since then, it's been cold calling. So 2021 until today, cold calling is just going to be our biggest revenue stream. I mean, SMS, just because the cost is so little, the ROI is always higher a little bit.
Hmm.
But I mean, I'd say cold calling brings in about 70% of our revenue.
Okay.
Mm.
And you've got how many cold callers? How many acquisitions reps, I guess, do you have
Yeah.
currently?
So at the moment, we have 2 acquisitions. So my
Okay.
sales manager, he's actually acting as an acquisition, Amir.
Okay.
So he is basically, he would, when we have more acquisitions and such, he trains them. He helps me manage them, train them, make sure they're hitting their numbers. And then other than that, we have another acquisition, and we're trying to find another acquisition. So we're in the process of hiring one more. Lead managers, we have two. They're actually newer ones, so they just finished training and they're going to start calling. So at the moment, two lead managers, two acquisitions, two dispositions, and two admins.
Do the I guess how many cold callers do you need to and I guess what does that team size get you in terms of contracts per month?
Yeah, I mean, we're at right now we have seven cold callers.
Okay,
So on average, they bring us about two. I'd say about three leads a day on average. Of course, they're not as hot as PPC would be, but
sure.
we're looking at per month on average we're about 15 contracts a month.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and
significant.
the contracts to close ratio it was around 50 to 60%. We're up in that now. It's about 75% or so now.
Wow. Okay, that's solid.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really solid.
yeah. So it's been great. That's about on average. We're less than 100 deal. We're at a less than 100 leads per deal now.
Got it.
Beginning of the year, we were at around 140 leads per deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
The those acquisition managers, are they allowed to take the new leads too, or they have to go through a lead manager first?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So they can go through new leads.
They
They can
can.
go through them. So yeah, so they'll check basically his estimate and just kind of see what kind of price point they're looking at.
Yep.
Or for example, I'll just have my admin help me comp,
Yep.
and if we just find any hot leads that are supposed, someone asking 100K less or 70K less, we'll just push it straight to the acquisition.
How do you,
Especially
but
when
how
they're
do
a
you,
fresh lead like that.
oh, because the cold caller's asking those questions too.
Right. So like the cold,
Okay.
yeah. So that's the information with the cold caller. We'll have the asking price. If someone doesn't have an asking price, then they go through a drip that we have in our CRM. They get texted for I think 20 days now, and basically just different ways of asking about this asking price until they respond. If they don't respond with an asking price, then we'll actually have a few days a month where we'll go in there and we'll just start throwing out offer ranges. We don't even
Sure.
have to give a solid offer and
Yep.
just see where they're at. So we got a couple contracts like that as well.
Yeah. It's funny how no one has a price until you have a price, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Not
I
no one,
mean,
but
you'd be
a lot of people.
surprised. You'll be
Yeah.
surprised. I mean, some people you'll think, oh, this guy doesn't have an asking price. He's not motivated. And then you talk to him, and it turns out he's asking 100K less than his estimate or 100K less than his ARV. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, this is a great deal. A lot of people
Yeah.
miss on those. They just skip on
For
them.
sure. They skip them. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your guys' like kind of funnel look like? And what I mean by that is like how many people get to that week of training, and then how many people like make it through that to lead manager, and then how many people make it through that to like I guess ultimately
Yeah,
being
for
acquisitions?
sure. So last year, it was like 30% of lead managers that were going through the quiz would fail the quiz or just get
Okay.
below that 80%. And then we would just be left with two, let's say. So let's say they had like three, let's say we had three people going through it, two of them would get through and then they'd start calling. Um, Within about 2 to 3 weeks, we'll know if someone's going to last with us or not.
Hmm.
If they get through those 2 to 3 weeks of calling and they do, they're still with us, then chances are they're going to stay with us for a while. I mean, we didn't really, anyone that stayed with us and went through those 2 to 3 weeks, they usually stay over a year with us. Either something happens that they just had to leave or, performance just changes. But I would say the biggest thing that we see, I mean, it really all comes down to them not being coachable. We're
Hmm.
not willing to change their habits. I mean, I've had times where we hired a lead manager 2, 3 weeks in. Hey, John, you got to change this information. The way you're saying the script, you're not following the script. Here's the script you're supposed to follow. Follow it. Okay, sounds good. I'm gonna do it. We'll role play. He follows the script, so he knows how to say the words.
Hmm.
A couple days later, we'll get on the record. I'll listen to a recording 2 days later, not following the script. Get on another meeting, and it'll be a meeting with all the lead managers, for example, and I'll tell them, this is what you should do. You're not following the script. And there was two lead managers that this happened with, and I just kicked them off on the spot.
Yeah.
One of the guys just said, "Oh, well, he heard what I said," and then he said, "Well, I think that this way is better." And I said, "Okay, cool. So you think that's? I think you should just leave the team." And I was just at that point, I was just fed up with it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What do you mean?" no, that's not what I meant, sir. I was like, no, you're done. Like
Yeah.
that's just we're done. So it really just comes down to like being coachable. That's the biggest
Yeah.
thing that I've seen. I mean, our top acquisition right now, the reason that her results are so amazing is she was coachable from the start. She
Yeah.
always asked questions. I'm begging them to ask questions.
Yeah.
Please ask me questions. If they have a couple questions, we'll hop on a Zoom call. If I can't just message it. But the number one thing that she did compared to everyone else was she was hungry. She was asking questions all the time. She wanted to learn more than she needed to. So, hey, this seller told me this. What does that mean?
Mm.
And then I'll give her the answer. She'll dig into it. So, for example, seller told me that, um, for example, flood zone, and it's, what's flood zone? Okay, great. Good question. This is what flood zone is. Okay, cool. How do I find out if a property is flood zone or not so this doesn't happen again? But others, what's flood zone? Oh, it's this. Oh, okay, cool. And that's it.
Yeah.
So it was really just her really trying to understand from start to finish compared to everyone else just trying to figure out what they can answer the seller with. That was really what differentiated the really successful people on our team from I guess you could say the just okay, they just want to be lead managers and they're good with that job and they're not really trying to grow or excel to the next job.
Yeah. How many how many people make it to lead manager, pass a quiz, that then make it to
Yeah.
acquisitions? Like what's your kind of ratio there?
So right now it's
It's
tight.
gotta be
I mean,
tough. Yeah.
yeah. I would say 1 in maybe 10, one
Yeah.
in 8 to 1 in 10, something like that. Yeah. I mean, because when it comes to acquisition, I mean, you could train someone on lead manager, teach them a script, tell them the basics of real estate.
Hmm.
They just need to know, the basics of terms to know, what's closing costs, what's the title company, what kind of houses they're looking at. But when you're talking about acquisition, they need to know a lot. You
Hmm.
know, they I need to teach them from start to finish everything. And it's harder when you're virtual because, for example, my dispo team right now, I mean, I just tell them, hey guys, let's go see this house, and we go and see it. And I explain to them in person. It's harder when they're virtual,
Yeah.
such as like Google Street, like Google. I'll go on Google. We'll meet in a meeting. Oh, the question seller asked me about wood, this or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, cool. This is how you do it. I'll Google, and I'll show them how you can find out if a house has this or that.
Yeah.
Or, for example, county records doesn't show if it's wood frame or block. I mean, lead managers, they don't really need to know that information to that depth. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever they're converting it, but an acquisition needs to know when they're
Yeah.
comping. So I'll show them this is how you see the wood frame home. This is how you see a block one if the county records doesn't give them that information. So it's going to take a lot of my time and a lot of my sales managers' time to train them. So we're really really picky on that. But I have a good feeling about the two lead managers that we have right now.
Hmm.
um, their qualification when they first joined in was a little bit higher than the typical lead manager that we've had joined.
Hmm.
Um, just older, a lot more experience, like 10 years in experience, customer service, management. So I have a really good feeling that they might they might beat that 1 in 8 ratio and they might actually make it 2 and 2. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes.
Is is I just totally blanked out on my question. Oh, anyway, was something about that process. So okay, so you've got that, and then your dispo team is local though, you said.
Yeah, Dispo team is out of Orlando.
What made you decide to keep that local while making acquisitions in international position?
Yeah. So acquisitions, I mean, permissions wise, I mean, you have to trust the person, definitely. But I felt that with dispositions, you need to trust them on a whole different level.
Hmm.
So, you guys are talking to the buyers. First of all, I need them here in case they need to show homes, right? We don't really do much showings, like group showings where they actually go show the house. Most of the time, we actually have our buyers go out there themselves and just go
Huh.
see the house. It's worked out for us. Thank God we haven't had anyone try to go behind our back yet. But just yesterday, for example, we had a house that was probably about 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, all right, guys, let's go. I'm going to show you guys how to show this house. And it's just a process that I want them to learn how to like build their relationships with the buyers. Because that's really the biggest thing for me
Hmm.
is relationships, especially with the buyers. I like the idea of texting a couple guys, "Hey, I have this deal in Jacksonville, Mike. You're the guy I text there, but you want this deal, yes or no?
Yeah,
No, not really, or yeah, I'll take it, and that's it.
yeah.
I mean, we have investor lift cartel mode and such, but I mean, I just like the idea of selling to the same buyer again and again, building that relationship. I mean, I met you at a meetup and then, at an event, and we became friends after that. I like that idea of like selling a deal to a friend of mine instead of just to a random person every time,
Yeah.
and we're both making money, and what do I have to lose? So I want them to be able to do the same thing, build that relationship with their buyers, meet with their buyers. I mean, for example, one of my dispositions, she met with the buyers that she was talking to on the phone. So now she can
Mm,
develop that different relationship with them. So,
yeah.
and then just like I said with trust, I mean, we have our team overseas sign non-disclosures and non-competes, but how
Yeah.
much can how strong is that?
Sure.
It's a U.S. non-compete form, but here in the U.S., it's a whole different ball game. So
Yeah. I think that is a key thing too. You mentioned, I mean, we're the same way where we kind of sell to a lot of the same buyers, and it's just that people will perform, right? And
yeah, for
I'll be
sure.
honest, like we probably get 20, 30 wholesaler emails a day, but
Yeah,
I have my assistant going through them, but I only really look at the ones that are from people that I know. Like if you send me something,
yeah,
I'll actually be like, oh no,
yeah,
send it to me. Don't use screen it. Like send it to me directly and
yeah,
I'll look at
for
it.
sure.
Right. Versus the other people, I'm like,
Awesome.
like, whatever. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
because
And
you're
that's the
so
thing. Like, I
busy.
mean,
It's like you can only look at
yeah,
someone's
I
stuff.
mean,
Like,
especially with like all the email blasts that you get. I mean, every day I could just tell you like the amount of names I have memorized in my head. But like you said, I probably get like 50 to 60 emails a day from wholesalers, and
yeah,
I'll buy deals if they're good. But if I mean, I look at these deals and I see like one or two bad deals, I kind of just give up on looking at their emails anymore. I mean, it could be
yeah,
bad. I could be missing out on the stuff, but if I see your ARV is inflated by 100,000, I'm not looking at your emails anymore. I'm just
yeah,
swiping through them,
yeah, yeah,
But I mean, for example, let's say you sent me a deal or
yeah,
someone else I know that actually ran their comps sent me a deal. I'll actually look at it. I'll run the numbers. And that's another big thing that we have for Dispo too. Uh, and numbers are not inflated. I mean, you could be the judge of that. I mean, you could be, are they inflated or not?
No, I thought they were accurate. I mean,
um,
I bought deals from you,
yeah.
so
Yeah, so it's that's my biggest thing. I mean, I don't want it to be, everyone's numbers are inflated. That's the complaints I get so many times from buyers, and that's what pisses me off more than anything when I look at a deal. Oh, like 32825, one of the zip codes I know really well.
yeah,
I'll look at it. Okay, cool. This is a solid deal. Let me look at the comps. It's like 10 minutes away from me. I'll do this flip, and then it turns out ARV is off by 80K, and there's no margin.
yeah,
So just wasting everyone's time.
sure. And then your emails start getting ignored, just like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean,
yeah,
I don't open those people's emails anymore. So
yeah. So, right now, like, what's the makeup of your business in terms of the types of deals that you're doing?
I'd say about 80% wholesale
Hmm.
and flipping. I mean, it really just comes down to the numbers. I kind of cherry pick the wholesale deals for flipping.
Okay.
So, for example, this year we didn't flip any deals,
Hmm.
none. Every single time I looked at one deal and I was just saying, this is a juicy deal, we could flip it, I'll wholesale it and I'll make around the same amount that I was supposed to make as a flip. So it doesn't really make sense. Make take it down with the market risk right now. Properties are staying on the market a little bit longer. We were just talking about that, you and I, and just it's not worth it for that extra 5 or 10K.
Yeah,
So right now, I switching my business model where it's just going to be 80% wholesale, and anything that I do like, I'll just start buying it as a rental.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, makes sense. So it's interesting that when you started in the business, you're like, I just want to start in wholesale and I
yeah,
want to be a flipper. I guess
yeah.
at what point what was the inflection point you said, maybe not?
It, when I did a lot of flips in one year, this was 2021. That's when I
Crazy.
decided that's not for me. I don't like it. I never did. I mean, the checks were nice, but it what happened was my systems weren't as strong as they are now. And I mean, I didn't have a really good crew. So
Yeah.
I was at my flips almost every day. And I had like 3 to 4 flips all in different sides of town. Like this was crazy. When I decided to flip, I didn't flip one house and try to figure it out. I bought three and then I closed on the fourth one like 2 months later. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to figure it out with all four. And I didn't even have a crew. I was like, I'll find a good crew. It's all good. We'll figure it all out. And one house was in the $500,000 range. I mean, I didn't buy it for that. It was worth about
Yeah.
500,000.
Yeah.
And then it was a small condo, and then another one's like 350, and another one like 300. So it was stressful and different sides of town. I mean, 40 minutes to an hour away from each, and it was it messed up the wholesale business really
Yeah.
because it was a couple months after I hired, and so we started seeing wholesale contracts come in, and every single time I was like, let me fix it. I'd have to be at a flip.
Yeah.
So the revenue came in from the flips at the time, but it wasn't worth sacrificing wholesaling at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point, man. I mean, I wouldn't be doing flips if I didn't have a crew that just did it without me being there. I've got
Right.
one going on now. I've, I haven't been there in a month. It's an 8-week project, but
Yeah.
I get the progress pictures every week. It's moving along. Same guys who do all my stuff, right? It's like
Exactly.
I would not touch it if I had to be there managing subs. I just can't do
Yeah, for sure. And that's the process that we have now.
it.
But now I'm just going to use that for flips, and that's it. I mean, I don't really, like I said, unless I really see something worth it to flip. Where let's say in wholesale, I'm supposed to make like 30K, and I can make 80 or so in flips, and I'll do it. But if I'm making in a flip 50,000 or 60,000, I can make 45 in a wholesale. I'll just take the 45.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your target assignment fee, or I guess what's your average assignment fee when it comes
Average
down?
right now is about 21,000.
That's pretty good, dude.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really good,
That's
actually. Yeah.
it was last year, I mean, with the market, I mean, of course, it was crazier. It was like 35 last year.
Wow.
So it went down, but it's still pretty good. I mean, I
Yeah.
know I know a couple friends that are like around 11 or 12, so
Yeah. 11, 12, 15. A lot of people are
mm,
15. Yeah. That's great.
yeah.
What do you attribute that to? Is it, I mean, it's all a lot. Some could be acquisitions or dispositions, but
Yeah. I
in your
think it
business.
comes down to yeah, I mean, it definitely does attribute to both. Negotiating is one thing, of course, in acquisitions. Um, really big on that. One thing that we do with sellers a lot is just like try to bring them back to reality. Like, listen, like, you want, for example, it just happened yesterday with a lead. Seller wanted like 190. We were at a 183. I think at most we could pay like 189. And I just told my acquisition, she already did this. That's just funny. Like I told her what to do. She's like, I already did that. We're good. Um, I just told her, listen up, just tell them we could do 190, but there's always a chance that we might have to reduce the price because we didn't see the house and the rehab estimate's already high. So it's kind of just building that credibility. We're focusing
Yeah.
a lot on our Google reviews. So we're able to really leverage that. Hey, you want to see our Google reviews? Here you go. You could see that every single person that sold to us and left us a review, they were happy with our business. So, and a lot of people go through bad experiences, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really just the biggest thing, differentiating ourselves from those others. We've had some people even take lower offers with us just because they can see our credibility compared to someone else, which I felt in our business, there's not a lot of people that focus on that. I mean, we're
Yeah.
focused on Google, on SEO, Google Ads, which is great for lead gen, but no one's really focusing on Google Ads as much. I mean, Google reviews, sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
So
What do you, are you guys also doing those other marketing channels like SEO and PPC still, or have you kind of just stuck with the outbound?
PPC is still there. It's just a smaller budget.
Sure.
Um, just finding a manager that we're happy with is pretty tough. So I'll be honest, I'm actually dabbling with it myself.
Okay.
So from the last manager that we had doing it, ever since I took it over, we actually got a lot more leads that were quality leads. So it's just right now, I just haven't really had time to really dabble with it as much or adjust the keywords and adjust the search terms as much. So I'd say for the past like last couple weeks or so, I haven't really dabbled with it and increased the budget, but we're still definitely keeping it in there.
Okay.
I think that is the future when it comes to lead gen, just because you see how, I mean, just as September 1st, they started pounding down more on SMS, and
Hmm.
then they announced some other restriction today as well. I mean, they're going to keep getting on it. SMS is not the way it was in 2020 or so. I mean, those days, dude, I was getting like 20% response rate.
Yeah.
And I spent in 2020 like 5 grand or 6 grand, and we made like 90,000.
Yeah.
It
It's
was
incredible.
ridiculous,
Yeah.
But nowadays, I mean, I mean, we're still at a response rate surprisingly like 14, 15%,
Yeah.
but it's not as easy. It's the lead to conversion is just higher for sure. And then cold calling is great. It keeps the team busy. It keeps them fed instead of just getting like 10 leads. But um, I definitely think PPC is like the place to go. We're also
Yeah.
going to be trying PPO, so that's what we're actually starting to this week.
Oh, sure. Cool.
Yeah,
What areas are, as I know you guys do Jacksonville, I know you do Orlando. Are you doing like all of Florida, or are you like kind of sticking to central northeast, or
yeah.
what's your focus?
So I'd say like central northeast for sure. So South
Okay.
Florida we don't touch.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
just not. I mean, we've done a couple deals there, but it's not my favorite. So Orlando, Central Florida area, Tampa, Ocala area, we'll touch that, and then Jacksonville.
Yeah.
We also target Atlanta and Charlotte,
Huh.
North Carolina.
Okay. And is your focus more like hitting the distress list, or are you guys kind of like, we'll hit
No,
everyone who's owned the
everything.
house for 5 years and
Yeah, no,
see what
we'll
rolls?
hit everything. Just like
Yeah.
you said, we pull a list 2018 and older, and we just call them all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's diamonds in the rough everywhere. So,
definitely. I mean, that a lot of the people that we deal with, they're not people that have tax, especially this year. Now that I think about it, and we have a couple foreclosures and such, but
mhm.
um, I'd say a good 60% of our deals were people that lived in the house. So I know a lot of people like to say just absentee and that's it, and it's great. Motivation is there. I mean, they should definitely have higher motivation, but I'd say about 60% of our deals are people that lived in the homes,
Yeah.
just owner occupied. They wanted to relocate. Well, how are you going to pull a list for someone relocating? It's not vacant yet,
Yeah.
so just owner occupied, higher equity. We don't even we don't even weed out the equity, to be honest, because we do a lot of creative finance too. Not as
Oh, you
much as
do?
cash and
Okay.
such, but yeah, we
Yeah.
do. So we do some novations now as well. That's been a big focus for us.
Hmm.
And creative finance, that's really just for us to buy.
Talk about something you said before, because you said like we don't send people there to do showings. We just have our buyers go. Like, I guess how are you framing that with the sellers? And I guess like I mean, it seems to work very well for you, right? So
Yeah.
I guess how do you go about that
It,
process to make that successful?
I mean, it really just comes down to like telling the sellers, we're gonna when we get under contract with the seller, the first thing the acquisition does is set the expectations. Congratulations. What's going to happen next is someone from our team is going to call you, schedule a time for our photographer to come out to the property. They're just going to take some pictures of the home. If our contractor or our partner needs to come to the property after the pictures are taken, we're going to let you know. They might just need to check a couple things in person, but sometimes they don't need to. Sometimes the photography, pictures are enough.
Hmm.
Um, so we have some deals that get sold sight unseen, but I'd say majority of them we just tell them, yeah. For you,
I'm
for example,
I'm efficient.
yeah. And I can't blame you. I mean,
It's too hard.
instead of driving around and see every single house,
Yeah.
yeah. But it just really comes down to like the the we just have the team go out there. I mean, it's call the seller and schedule time. Hey, our contractor wants to come out there, or our partner just needs to come out there for 10, 15 minutes,
Yeah.
and just let the buyer know, hey, you're our partner, you're a contractor, whatever it is that we saw fit for that day,
Yeah.
and they just go out and see the property,
Yeah.
and we've thankfully never had any problems. I mean, I think it just really comes down to vetting, and that's another thing I like about our dispo team. They vet the buyer before we schedule them for a showing.
Yeah.
So is it a wholesaler, buyer? Is the buyer having a good attitude, or is he someone that's being a pain in the ass? Right. That's a
Sure.
big thing too.
Yeah.
So I don't want someone that if they're being all rude and like we don't need to sell the deal to you. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll just not deal with them. But we won't even schedule him showing. I had one guy like he got really pissed off just the attitude he was giving. I just don't like the vibes that were given out, so we didn't schedule him showing. We still sold the deal. I mean, but we like I said, thankfully we haven't had any issues.
Yeah.
It's worked out for us. It really just comes down to having that conversation on both ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people who are investors, or buyers, like just underestimate the importance of just being easy to work with. It's like
Yeah.
it's a wholesale
Yeah.
deal, so like you can't make it hard. That's the point. That's why you get a deal,
I've seen
right?
so many times, and I'm sure you've seen it too. Just when you deal with a wholesaler and they're just all over the place.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll try to JV a deal. We're dealing with it right now. My dispo agent, she was going crazy about it just yesterday. Dispo agent sent us a deal, and he was sending us, I think, the AB or was going to or did, I can't remember. And we got him a buyer, so we're supposed to make like 12K on the deal, and he's making whatever amount he's supposed to make.
Yeah.
And he wanted 145 for the. Well, he wanted like 142 for the deal. We sold it for 154, so we're just gonna make the
Yeah.
difference. Great. We're going to send the assignment over to the buyer. We tell them to send us an assignment. Oh, I'm not the one with the contract. Just be honest with me. And then we couldn't, until now, we still don't know who has the contract. According to
Ah,
that wholesaler, no one does, and the seller doesn't even want to sell, but they schedule, they let us into the house and we have pictures. It doesn't really make sense. But I've dealt with it so many times where just honesty is the biggest thing. It's
yeah.
so simple, but a lot of people miss on it.
Yeah.
Just being simple, and like you said, just keep it. There's nothing else to say.
It's pretty
I
easy.
mean,
Yeah. It applies to
that's the
buyers
thing. I
too.
mean, it's,
If you're gonna be a
yeah,
buyer, like
exactly.
the people who I call first for buyers are friends of mine or just people I've known who've just like been easy in the past that are just like send them the
Yeah,
photo and video and they're like, cool, I'll take it, or cool, I'll take it at whatever. I don't know,
yeah,
130. I'm like, okay,
exactly,
I'll let you know if that works. That's it.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's it. There you go. I mean, instead of just going around, they're just going around the truth and such. And it when you make so many lies too, it's just you can't really catch up on them. You know,
Right, right. Can't keep
um,
track of
what
them.
did I tell the seller again? Yeah, what did I tell? Oh, what did I tell the buyer again?
Yeah.
Or just be honest from the start. And some people don't. They also assume for the seller, oh, he's going to say this if I tell him I want to get this guy in, or this is going to happen, that's going to happen. I mean, worst case, if the seller tries to go behind our back, I'll just we'll cloud title or we'll figure something out. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you said you guys are doing some alternative strategies too, like novation. So when do you decide to do that versus a wholesale?
for sure. So it really we'll always give a cash offer. That's always
Okay.
a number one plan. So plan A is cash. After that, let's say seller's at 270, for example,
Hmm.
and our cash offer is like 180, and they reject it. Of course, what we'll do is we'll kind of just try to we'll try to negotiate a little bit, but not as much as we usually do. So let's say when we negotiate, we just put them on hold and come back with another number. We'll put them on hold maybe one more time. If it doesn't work out and we just really don't see them budging, then we'll just say, listen up, we have this program. I don't even know if you qualify for it yet, but if you do, great. I'll let you know what it is. See if you're interested anyway. So we'll tell them that we will, with the innovation method, basically pitch them on that, and if they're interested, put them on hold, get them qualified for that method,
Yeah.
and just send over the contract with that addendum.
What does that pitch sound like?
Basically goes along with basically saying it's like, hey, we have this concierge program.
Hmm.
Um, you might not qualify for it yet, but I could definitely see. Let's see if you're interested in it first. If you're cool, if you're interested in it, then I'll let my underwriter know and see if you qualify. If not, then no hard feelings. The way it works is we have some exclusive buyers and partners that might be interested in the property. They should be able to pay a little bit more than us. So what we're going to do is we're going to send it over to them, market it to them, and one of our marketing methods is the MLS. So if you're interested, then let's see what kind of number we can get you. And of course, we let them know if we get a little bit more than what we thought from our buyer, then we'll get them a little bit more at closing. Um, we tell them like, hey, if there's any realtors involved, we'll pay the commissions.
Huh.
Uh, Closing costs, of course, covered by us. So we kind of just let them know that's like our exclusive buyers and partners, and we've done pretty well with them. For
Hmm.
example, we have one right now. It looks bad. It's in North Carolina, but it looks really bad. And I was doubting that one. We got it for 103. It's worth about 150, 145 to
Okay.
150. And we're selling it for 130.
Yeah.
So it's something, I mean, it is a cash deal, 150. You'd probably have to get it in the condition that it's in, probably need it for 60 to sell it for 70 or 75.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
So, and it's a wood frame home too. So, um, but it opens the doors to more opportunity. Definitely brings
Yeah.
in more revenue. I mean, we're doing this other deal. This deal we were actually trying to wholesale for the longest time, and seller all of a sudden said we were supposed to close back in like later in December,
Yeah.
and since they weren't ready until then, all of a sudden they told me, "Hey, we want to close next month." So we weren't really getting good bites. It was a higher end home, the
Yeah.
mid 400s, which was the purchase price. ARV was about like 550 or so, and it was in pretty good condition, but it just no one really wanted to touch it. Just in that city that's in, it's not the best at that price point. You can get something in Orlando or in Tampa.
Mm.
So it was like right in the middle of Plant City, Florida. So I pitched it over. We were already under contract with him, and I pitched the novation method to him. Told him I might be able to get you a little bit more money for it, and he was all for it. So we listed it that way. Within a week, we had a conventional buyer on it, so we should be
Yeah.
closing on that one next week.
And then you're just telling them that we're gonna put a lockbox on there so that people can come by type thing just to make it easy.
Yeah,
Or yep.
so we'll try to do that, and then of course, like if they live there, we have like for example the one in North Carolina. She wanted to be there every time, so all right, well we're gonna have a good amount of people coming in there, so that's completely fine, um, as long as they're okay with it. And we had like 15 or 20 people go there. She didn't say a word. She every single time we'd schedule a show in like 2 hours before, and she'd be there. She didn't even live there too. She lived like 20 minutes away. So by
I
all
guess
means, go for
I
it.
guess you wanted it
Thanks for
sold.
your help.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
every couple of days she'll text me. We have the closing set for the end of this month. Every couple of days she'll text me, "Hey, when are we closing again? What are my figures?" So it definitely looks like she wanted to sell.
Yeah.
Have you
Gotcha.
done novations, or you don't really
We've
dabble in them much?
done, I think, two, so not too
Okay,
many. We are starting to kind of implement it more though.
yeah.
Um,
I do know that you said you buy some of them and just list them right away.
yeah, that's common
Yeah.
for us. Yeah. Um, the only reason I like doing that sometimes is like just like less moving pieces. I don't have them
Hmm.
there in the
Right.
house, and I can just
Yeah. Yeah, that's
like
true. It definitely
send
makes it easier.
send 20 people there the first weekend and not have to worry about it. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, but I have to buy them cheaper to do that, right? So maybe I should be doing more
Right.
innovation.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely opens the door to so many more leads.
Yeah.
I mean, for this month, I mean, we have three, three or four novations.
Wow. Okay. So it's a big
So
or good percentage, not of what you do.
yeah, yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say about like 20%. We're pushing on it more. So
Yeah.
if we can get to like, if we can get around 5 to 6 more novations every month, it, I mean, that's 6 figures alone. So
Yeah. And you guys are doing some creative finance deals as well.
we are. So not as much. I'd definitely like to do more,
Yeah.
but it's just really training on that is a whole different, you know, room. Um, but we do. I really use creative finance to buy my own deals, our own
Hmm.
rentals. So that's why I learned it from Pace Morby, the notorious Pace Morby. But like for example, we bought this one duplex earlier this year. This one was like my favorite deal. We bought it. We wholesaled a deal that he sold us as like a condo, and he told me that he had another deal. And so we're talking about it. It was a duplex. I was like, I'm definitely interested. He wanted like 300 or like 320 or something, some number around there. And I mean, it's worth like 320.
Yeah.
So I just told him, listen, man, I'd love to buy it, but cash wise, you're not gonna like it. What is it? What is it? It's 190. He's like, what, man? That's way too low. It's a duplex. So I know, I told you it's gonna be terrible. So let's do this instead. Would you sell on terms? And I straight up told him from the start, before I even said the number, I said it's gonna be a terrible offer for you. And we
Yeah.
built that rapport where it was just like,
Yeah.
he's not gonna come at a higher price unless he really wanted it. So he's like, I'll sell on terms, but let's go meet for lunch beforehand. So I was all right, whatever, let's go. Scheduled lunch for like the next day. Went and saw the house or the duplex. Had lunch and we started talking the numbers. He wanted like 100 grand down, and I was just like, no way. So we in the end we agreed on was 275 for purchase and $25,000 down. So and then payment wise, we're trying to structure that. So the guy loves to go on cruises. He goes on cruises every single month. And so I just said, cool, how much does your cruise usually cost you? It's like about 1,200 bucks. I was like, all right, cool. How about I give you $1,200 a month? I'll pay your cruise every single month.
It's amazing.
And it worked. And
Yeah.
that's what we agreed on.
Yeah.
So I paid him $1,200 a month, 0% interest, and $25,000 down on a duplex. That's cash flowing me around, after all management fees, about 2,600, 2,700 a month.
Cash flowing,
After
2,600.
management fee, sorry. So about so after his payment, we're around 1,500 a month.
It's still great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
So
sitting there like drinking a margarita on a cruise somewhere.
yeah, he sent me a couple
And he's
pictures of
happy.
him in the jacuzzi. Yeah, he used to be sitting in the hot tub on the cruise. I'll send it. I'll send it over to you after the podcast. He was sending me like 2 months after closing. He's like, "Thanks for the cruise, Shadi." And he's like, "Send me a picture of him in the hot tub on the cruise." It's like, "All right, cool, man. You're living the life."
That that's hilarious.
So,
Yeah. Good for
oh
him
yeah,
though.
no,
Yeah.
he's
Good for him,
yeah,
good
he's
for
doing
you.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
So for people who are thinking about building a virtual team, like virtual sales team, I guess I should say,
yeah.
because that's a unique challenge. Did you like I guess like well, let's first start like what challenges did you face along the way and how did you overcome those?
So the virtual team, I mean, the biggest thing, I think the most important thing is, like I said, sales. I mean, it's not for everyone. All right, just talking on the phones for 8 hours a day, making those offers, lead managers as well. So the culture was a really, really big thing. And
Mm,
it's tough to make a culture when you're not really around each other. So I think what it came down to was just like on our meetings. I mean, we have a good amount of meetings, especially training. Cameras are always on and such. But um, just in the beginning of like Monday meetings, like I said, 5 to 10 minutes in the beginning, we'll just talk about each other's weekend. I'll throw a joke here, someone else will throw a joke there. We'll just laugh it out, and then we'll go into the conversation. Once we go into business, everyone just understands that you know now it's showtime.
yeah.
Um, Wednesdays we have like a recordings meeting, and it's really transparent. I don't really do like personal meetings with each person. So, for
Mm,
example, acquisitions, when we do a recordings meeting with them on Wednesdays, listen to the recordings.
mm,
So we'll try to do that in the mornings where both acquisitions are on the call. We'll listen to each of the recordings and I'll pause and give some feedback throughout.
hmm.
And the others can put in their information, their input on that too, their feedback. So I think it makes everyone comfortable with one another too.
Hmm.
And you don't want, of course, to like drop all their boundaries because in the end you want them to be professional.
Hmm.
But I find it that everyone on the team is like a friend in a way.
Hmm.
Everyone's comfortable with one another. I think that's really the biggest thing that needs to be built. Setting expectations, definitely another big one. Um, I had a tendency of being like a little too nice or a little too lenient in the beginning.
Mm,
So that's definitely something that I had to work on. Um, Training in different ways. So a lot of, I trained one person one way. I think the other person is going to understand it that same way. I found out the hard way. It's not the way. That's not the
mm,
case. You got to train the way they are, the way they learn. So just being patient, really. The biggest thing I would tell anyone right now is if they were doing it, Any small thing that you do, make a recording of it while you're doing. Just screen record, or if you're talking, recording something, record it. Add it to a Google Drive. You're gonna thank yourself later. Just you're gonna have someone later on ask, or for example, admin. I used to show an admin on a Zoom call, or former admin, like how to do these small tasks. Once he left, I was just like, all right, cool. Like, I don't even know where to start. He had so many tasks that he took care of for me. I don't know which one to go with first. Hire the next admin. Then I made all those videos.
Hmm.
So she can always play back, and if she forgets something, it's right there. So just really making those videos is like the biggest thing. Or just record the Zoom call and just upload it into Google Drive. It doesn't have to be all fancy. I mean, none of our videos are really fancy. It just has a bunch of content, really.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. So I guess for if someone was to say, hey, I do want to build this virtual sales team, haven't done it yet,
mm,
right? They're just like, I like the idea of this. This is what I want to do.
yeah,
What would be your biggest piece of advice to them if they're just starting?
yeah. They're starting. I would definitely say don't ever just assume that they're doing the task the right way. There was a couple times where I thought a lead manager was just because I was busy and it's like, oh, it's fine. Like they can't be doing that bad on the recordings, and I'll skip it for a week or two. Then I listen to it and I just want to tear my hair off. My hair out it's so bad. So it's like, and then it starts hitting you. Then you start, and I'm sure you've had this before. Oh my God, like I wonder how many deals we missed out on because of this. Because, like, okay, cool. I missed out, I'm paying them for their time. But now look at the opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Average assignment 21,000. If I lost out on 2 to 3 deals, that one lead manager just cost me $63,000. Is it really worth it? So I think the biggest thing was um, definitely just doing that, and being a leader instead of a boss. That's another
Yeah.
thing too. So, if I expect them to do something, I need to be able to do it myself, right?
Hmm.
Um, just that's just number one. What else? And being patient for sure. Training, there's no such thing as too much training. But of course, like training for 10 hours a day, I mean, that's, you want it to be efficient. I mean, my trainings when I'm on with my team, acquisitions, when we're like on a really in-depth training, it'll maybe be like an hour and a half, 2 hours,
Hmm.
but it's not like 4 or 5 hours or anything. No,
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
but definitely keep training. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting close to the end here, and there's always two questions I like to ask at the
Yeah.
end. The first one's kind of fun, and that question is, what is the craziest or most uncomfortable situation you've ever experienced in a real estate deal?
Problem is there's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's I'm virtual, but I still see houses. So, I mean, I've had like horror stories with flips and such, but I'd say the craziest or like most uncomfortable situation. I was seeing this house in Palm Bay, Florida. It's about like an
Mhm.
hour away, and the seller, her son lived like 3 doors down. She just told me the front door is locked, but go to the back door, it's fine. Sounds good. Let's go see it. I go to the house. It looks like shit, but it's like, all right, it's all good. She told me the back door is open. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? So I go to the back door and I heard like some humming. Like there's like a shed in the backyard, and the backyard is pretty large. I heard like a noise, like of someone singing or something. I just ignored it. I thought maybe like the neighbor has music on or whatever. So I open the door, I walk in, I see pizza and like chicken wings on the floor. I was like, it's probably like some homeless person, but I don't think it's fresh, so we're fine. So I walk in. I kid you not, this is like a horror movie at this point. So you walk into the house. I was walking in to the right of me was the kitchen from the back door, and then you walk a little bit forward. There's a living room, and then to your right was a hallway. It was a narrow hallway, and then you have 2 bedrooms, and then a bathroom on the end of the hallway. So just to make matters worse, the hallway, the light in there was flickering, and all the other lights weren't working. Just the fan in the living room and just that one flickering light in the hallway. So I'm just standing there and I'm like slowly walking and I start saying hello, hello, nothing happened. No one said anything. So I start taking pictures of the kitchen, taking pictures of the living room, and then there's like a closet room on the left side. I opened that door and then I hear laughing. Someone, there was like a homeless person in the rooms behind me in that hallway. They were like running and they started giggling and ran from one room to the other. And that's when I was like, hell no, I'm out. Not buying
Yeah.
this deal. Ran right back out. And then I noticed when I was looking, like when I ran back out and got to my car, it's like, let me go see what that like humming noise was. So I so I walked back to the backyard and it was another homeless person sitting in the mattress in the shed in the backyard.
Oh,
So
geez. Yeah.
yeah, so that was pretty weird. That definitely was one of the top like unique scenarios that I've ever dealt with.
Yeah, that's up there.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But
Cool.
as you know, I'm sure you've dealt with it too. There's a bunch of nasty homes that we see. So
Yeah.
those, you know how nasty those the homes are when you can't breathe and you walk out, you're like itching and you don't know if there's something on you or not.
Yeah, I've
So
had that.
yeah, for sure.
The second question, man, is if you could go back in time to 2018 and give yourself one piece of advice when you were looking for that first deal,
Mm,
knowing what you know now, what would you tell
yeah,
yourself?
the biggest thing that I've seen, like I've taught a good amount of people wholesaling, and thankfully I can say like they've all succeeded from the ones that really went into it. Not every person I've taught, but just the people that actually took that first step of actually working it out. But the
Hmm.
biggest thing was consistency.
Yeah.
So being consistent with calling, being consistent with your marketing, just being consistent with every single thing that helps you get that deal. That's the biggest thing that I would give myself advice on or anyone else. And until now, that's always what I preach. Um, I see a lot of people, people that I help or just people that I talk to, they'll get a deal locked up and they're going to focus on dispo. They'll work on dispo for like 3 weeks. And then they don't call any leads during that time. And they sell the deal. And then after they sell the deal, they stop for about 1 to 2 weeks to gather their feelings or just relax a little bit, celebrate the check or so. And then after that, they go back into acquisitions. And they're just like, I don't know where to start. Once you stop the train, it's so much harder to get the momentum going again.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing I tell everyone is just be consistent. That's the biggest thing. I mean, you need to keep getting deals. You need to keep talking to sellers, even if you don't have. I mean, a lot of people will try to. Well, I don't really have any hot leads in here. You don't know what's hot or not until you talk to them and actually made them an offer.
Hmm.
Because a cold caller, your level of calling or your experience, your skills on the phone, they're not going to be the same as a cold caller, right?
Hmm.
Or someone just texting a template. So there's going to be so much more information. We've had sometimes sellers, they're asking 400,000. We'll lock them up for like 230, 250. I mean, you don't know until you talk to them. That's the biggest thing. But number one thing for sure, I would say consistency.
Yeah. Good piece of advice.
Yeah.
So if people want to reach out to you after the show, if they have questions or maybe they have some deals you can buy in Orlando area, how can they
Yeah.
go about doing that?
Definitely the best way to probably reach out to me is going to be Instagram. Um, it's going to be at Shadi Tamimi underscore. So best way to reach me there. I'll be able to respond to you the same day for sure.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, this is great. Appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate it.